So we need to learn how to find the circumference of a circle, and the great thing is that you'll have a reference sheets that gives you the formula c equals 2 pi r. Here's the starting part of the circle, and the idea is if you were to lay a string around the edge of the circle, I mean make it perfect, and then bring that string all the way back to the beginning part of the circle, you would be able to measure after you made that string straight, you'd be able to measure how far that string was that stretched around the circle, and that would give you the distance around the circle. It's pretty much like the perimeter for circles. So you know, I don't like to call it perimeter, but if you understand the idea of perimeter, it's the distance outside of an object. That's exactly what this is. So how do we do this? Well, all that we need to do is times it 2 times pi times the radius. Well, 2, we can type that into a calculator. We can type 3.14 in for pi. And then we look down here and, hey, here's our radius. It's 10. And once we type that into the calculator, you can literally type all of this in at once. It'll give you the answer. And it would be 62.8. And since our units are in miles, this will be in miles also. This is not squared like an area. It's just going to be plain units there. So perimeter and circumference, it's always going to be just plain units. Now, what do we do if we said find it in terms of pi? Well, that just means you don't plug in 3.14 for pi. You just leave pi sitting there. And so 2 times 10 is 20. And then we just stick the pi right on the end. So 20 pi, and you put the units on there, 20 pi miles. So let's take a look at this one. This is the other thing they love to do. They like to give you a diameter of it. And so you know how to find the radius of a diameter. You take the 25 and divide it by 2, and you would very quickly find out that the radius is 12.5. So what would you type into your calculator? 2 times, well, here's pi, 3.14, times, in this case, it's the radius, which is 12.5 that you had to do a little bit of work for. So you multiply all of this together, and you'll have your circumference. And that would be 78.5 miles. Now again, if they ask you to solve for the circumference in terms of pi, you don't plug in 3.14, you just leave pi in there. And so it's 2 times 12.5 is 25. Slide the pi on the end, and don't forget your units. And I'm sorry, it's not miles. I wasn't paying attention there. This example, it's feet. So it's 25 pi feet, and this was 78.5 feet. Now, here's the thing. Do you notice that the diameter was 25, and when we left it in terms of pi, it was 25? That's because there's another formula. Sometimes we call it pi d, and you know, that's just where we literally slide the diameter right next to pi, and of course we know to put that number in front of pi when we write out the answer. But that's one thing that you might want to keep in mind there. It's not the end of the world if they give you the diameter for circumference, because it actually makes your job a little bit easier. However, our reference sheet only has this formula. So if you need to go ahead and split that diameter down to half because you're just more comfortable with it, absolutely, you still get the same answer.